reaction to Josh Donaldson's comments regarding use of sticky substances on your hands?
Yeah, I mean, I was made aware of it this week. Obviously, it's undesirable, but I understand this topic is important, to everybody that cares about the game. And in regards to Josh specifically, I mean, I kind of felt it was a bit of low-hanging fruit, but he's entitled to his opinion and, to voice his opinion. So I have issues, not issues. I just have other things that I need to, keep my focus on. So respectfully, I can't worry about that type of stuff, but I would say that, as a member of the executive council, in the union, and part of my job, part of my role there is to facilitate communication about really all things involving the game. And, I'm open to doing that. That's part of my role. So if anyone has a concern regarding anything, we're always available to reach out and talk to if there needs to be some clarification and whatnot.
Thank you.
Okay, we can take the next question from Matthew Roberson.
Hey, Gerrit, Matthew Robertson here from the New York Daily News. I'm wondering how much sort of teaching or coaching might be going on right now between the players. Like when things are going like they've been going, do you have players sharing ideas for improvement, or is everyone mostly staying out of each other's way and trusting that you'll get back on track eventually?
Oh, I think there's a lot of communication. It's certainly, there's probably room for improvement as well. We should always be trying to get more connected on the field, play together as a unit, whether we're playing well or not. Certainly amongst players, trying to pick up things that we're doing wrong, or trying to give each other more confidence, to be able to do our job or to prepare together as a group are things that we should always be striving to do, and that we're doing now. But it doesn't necessarily always mean that the results correlate or that it's good enough. We do have to get better in that regard.
We can take the next one from Ken Davidoff.
Hey, Gerrit, your spin rates were down in your last start. When that happens, do you scrutinize that? Do you try to figure out what was going on, or was it by design, or did it get on your radar at all? Regardless of what Josh said.
Yeah, I alluded to a little bit of that after the game in terms of getting underneath the ball. I think we've seen a trend in the last few games, to be quite honest, where just not quite bringing out my best delivery. So of course it's something that we monitor. Of course there are other variables that we monitor as well when we're evaluating our performance from every game. We try to take as much information as you can as a player, and certainly that's one of it. So we've tried to get better this week and put in the work, and we'll be as prepared as we possibly can for the next start tomorrow.
And have you ever used spider tap while pitching?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest. There are customs and practices that have been passed down from older players to younger players, from the last generation of players to this generation of players, and I think there are some things that are certainly out of bounds in that regard, and I've stood pretty firm in terms of that, in terms of the communication between our peers and whatnot. And I, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's, this is important to a lot of people that love the game, and this is including the players in this room, including fans, including teams. And so if MLB wants to legislate some more stuff, that's a conversation that we can have, because ultimately we should all be pulling in the same direction on this.
Thanks, Gerrit.
We'll take the next one from Marley Rivera.
As a member of the MLBPA Executive Committee, how much is this crackdown on substances a point of contention with Major League Baseball?
I don't know. Again, I mean, I felt like I just kind of touched on that, Marley, in terms of, you know, if MLB wants to talk about legislating those customs and practices, like we've, you know, that's certainly a conversation we can have and internally, you know, amongst the players in the union as well. So I don't know the level of contention. I haven't spoken to every single player. I can't really give you like a real pulse of how contentious it is, other than that again, there's been some focus applied to this.
Brendan Cuddy, you have the next question.
Gerrit, do you personally support the idea of umpires repeatedly throughout the game checking pitchers more often?
I personally, yeah. I mean, I think that if in order for people to feel like the playing field is level, then certainly MLB is directed, or I mean, I haven't seen anything in regards to what exactly they're going to do. So like, to a certain extent, I don't really want to speculate, you know, because I haven't got directive exactly of how this is going to play out. But again, fairness is respect for your opponent. But both those things I think are at the forefront of this. And in terms of what comes down and how they're gonna go about it, I probably should just, you know, kind of wait on my opinion of that until I actually see what's going to go on.
Tyler Kettner, you have the next question.
Gerrit, why do you think spin rates have gone so high these last couple of years, and what kind of an impact do you think it will make on the game if spin rates do start to come down across the board?
It's hard for me to say how much. You know what I'm. You know, this time kind of reminds me of a time earlier in my career. I think around 2017. Where the game started to shift, the type of offense started to shift slightly, and we were noticing some things that were "quote unquote" out of the norm. And I think when we started to dive into that and talk about that as a group, and what we've learned from that point to this point, is that there are several different variables. There's several different pieces to the pie, I think, that make up the answer to that question. So I can't confidently answer, you know, how big of a piece of the pie it is, or how many pieces of the pie that there is. I just know that it's not one thing. And so, you know, maybe a bit of patience when we start, you know, addressing these issues kind of in the greater good is probably something that we should all keep in mind as we're trying to find, I think, the ultimate balance of what we want for the game.
And I know you're a guy you have a 300 strikeout season. I mean, I'm sure you love strikeouts, but do you think this is a problem? Like, because baseball is trying to do so many things to put balls in play, and they talk about it all the time. Do you think there are too many strikeouts in baseball right now? Again, I know it's tough for you because you're a pitcher. But.
Yeah, but you know, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to answer that question, less because of being a pitcher and more because there are just natural ebbs and flows to the evolution of the game. I think, you know, removing myself maybe from the job, you know, the type of offense that we have now obviously has less action. And so that's an opinion of, you know, a lot of people that care about the game and the direction of the game and like to watch the game have said that they would, you know, that they would like to see more of. And so I guess it doesn't change how I go about, you know, my job in terms of what my ultimate goal is going to be and how I'm going to try to pitch people in order to, you know, be the best pitcher that I could be. You know, and I think maybe like we can have conversations to try to strive, you know, in the off season or at the appropriate time to, as players, as a union, bargaining with the league to try to ultimately find that balance. But like my personal opinion, it's hard for me to really have like really a truly accurate one, I think at this point.
Take the next one from Lindsay Adler.
Here you talked about things that pitchers have talked about and sort of passed down through the generations. Do you see there being a difference between something like grabbing the pine tar rag or sunscreen and rosin and some of the newer things like spider tack and pelican grip?
I think there is precedent to say that yeah, there's a difference there. I mean, certainly in situations where people have been checked or called out before, the opposition believes that, it's too much. It's over the line for their personal opinion. And so I don't see why the landscape now has changed in that regard. I don't have all the data or the information to, specifically pick apart, the substances that you mentioned and what they may or may not have an effect on. But, I do believe that there are things that are probably over the line and causing more, more emotion and more worry and more stress and about some of the greater things of the industry. But again, it's not the entire picture. But again, more uniformity, like I said earlier, if MLB wants to talk about legislating these types of things, like these are conversations that we can have, and so that's pretty much what I can say about that.
And your name has been out there since another player spoke about this in 2018. Is there anything that you would like to say about that? I don't think you've really spoken about that since then.
Again, my answer would probably just be the same as what I said about the most recent incident. People are entitled to their opinion, but my focus, my job right now is to try to get better every day and pour into our teammates. And like I respectfully just have more things on my plate that are important for us to win games right now and fulfill my job. And so what other people say is they're obviously certainly allowed to say whatever they can, and I'll just it doesn't make me happy. I mean, I'm not thrilled about it, but as far as that, I just have to kind of leave it where it is.
Dan Martin, you have the next question.
Gerrit, just to clarify, the spin rate being down in your last start, as Donaldson said, is not related to any suspensions in the minor leagues or anything like that. It was you attribute it to the delivery, getting underneath the delivery a little bit.
I attribute it to, again, just not being as good or as sharp as I wanted to be. Simple as that.
We'll take the final hand in queue, which is Marley Rivera with a follow-up.
Gerrit, you said that there are some things that are out of bounds and over the line. What are those things, in your opinion?
In my opinion, out of bounds, over the line, probably needs to be better defined. I just don't know if I'm the person to better define it for you.